he was silent when he found out about her betrayal. But what he did next made her cry on her knees. If you are for honest retribution, sign up. A Claire Bennett's life unraveled in a single moment. A cryptic text from her stepfather, Victor, offering $250,000 for one favor. Her heart raced as she stood in her Boston apartment, the phone trembling in her hand. Was this a sick joke, or had the man her mother idolized just crossed a line she could never forgive? One thing was clear: this wasn't just about money. It was about power, betrayal, and a truth Claire would risk everything to expose. Claire Bennett, a 29-year-old graphic designer, scraped by in Boston's ruthless freelance scene. Her Allston apartment, a cramped studio with creaky floors and a sink full of unwashed mugs, mirrored her financial strain. Student loans loomed like a guillotine, each payment reminder tightening the blade. Every client project, logos for startups, posters for local bands, demanded her soul, yet barely covered rent. Still, Claire's resilience burned bright, forged in the ashes of loss. At 14, she watched her older brother, Ethan, die in a car crash, a tragedy that fractured her family. Her mother, Evelyn, a 55-year-old librarian with tired eyes, buried her warmth in grief, leaving Claire to navigate a childhood shadowed by absence. Evelyn's second marriage, to Victor Marshall, a 50-year-old real estate tycoon, was her attempt at a fresh start. Victor's polished suits and easy grin charmed Evelyn, but Claire saw through him. His sly comments about her starving artist life stung, and his gaze lingered too long, leaving her uneasy. She avoided their upscale Newton home, a showcase of gleaming hardwood and modern art, but money was forced a weekend visit to save on groceries. Claire hoped for a rare moment of connection with Evelyn, despite their strained bond. That October evening, the house felt too quiet. Evelyn was at a book club, leaving Claire alone with Victor. She stood in the kitchen, stirring chamomile tea, her mind on a looming deadline. Victor appeared in the doorway, his presence filling the space like smoke. "Rough month, Claire?" he asked, his voice smooth but probing. She nodded, wary, sensing a shift in his tone. "Freelancing's brutal," she said, keeping her eyes on the mug. Victor stepped closer, his cologne sharp and invasive. "I could help," he said, his smile twisting. $250,000. One night. No strings. The words hit like a slap. Claire's mug slipped, tea sloshing onto the counter. Her heart pounded, disbelief warring with disgust. Was he serious? Victor's calm stare said yes. "You're sick," she spat, backing toward the sink. Her hands trembled, gripping the counter to stay grounded. Victor shrugged, unfazed. "Think about it. Debt-free. New life. No one has to know." His casual tone, like he was offering a loan, made her stomach churn. "Get away from me," she choked, her voice shaking with rage. Victor chuckled, his eyes glinting. "Don't be dramatic, Claire. It's just business." He sauntered to the living room, leaving her frozen. Claire's mind raced: scream, run, call someone? But who? Evelyn had dismissed her concerns about Victor before, calling her oversensitive. Accusing him without proof would backfire, Victor's charm would twist it against her. She bolted to the guest room, locking the door, her breath ragged. Sinking to the floor, she clutched her phone, tempted to text friends but paralyzed by shame. What if they doubted her? As hours ticked by, Claire's shock hardened into fury. Victor thought he could buy her dignity, reduce her to a transaction. Her pride flared, she wouldn't let him win. But how? Her word against his was worthless. Then it hit her, her phone could record him. If she caught Victor repeating his offer, Evelyn would have to listen. The plan felt risky, even reckless, but the alternative, silence, was worse. Claire's hands steadied as resolve took root. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for the truth. The next morning, Claire slipped out before Victor woke, avoiding his smirk. Evelyn noticed her silence but said nothing, assuming a mood swing. Claire didn't explain, she needed space to plan. At a bustling coffee shop in Cambridge, she met Marcus Cole, a 30-year-old journalist with a knack for uncovering lies. His warm brown eyes steadied her as she poured out the story, Victor's offer, her disgust, her fear. "I need proof," she said, voice low. Marcus didn't hesitate. "I believe you," he said firmly. "Let's trap this creep." Marcus suggested a public meeting to record Victor, a busy cafe, safe and crowded. "I'll be nearby," he promised, sketching a plan on a napkin. Claire nodded, fear mingling with determination. Victor had underestimated her, banking on her desperation. That was his mistake. She wasn't broken, she was a fighter, and she'd prove it. Claire Bennett sat hunched over her laptop in her Alston apartment, the glow of the screen casting shadows across her cluttered desk. Her heart thudded as she replayed the memory of Victor Marshall's vile offer, $250,000 for one night. The words lingered like a stain, fueling her rage and fear. At 29, Claire had faced tight deadlines and empty bank accounts, but this was a new kind of battle, one against a predator hiding behind a slick smile. Her stepfather's audacity, coupled with her mother Evelyn's blind devotion, made every step feel like walking through a minefield. The plan to trap Victor was simple but terrifying: lure him into repeating his offer on tape. Claire's fingers hovered over her phone, hesitating before texting Marcus Cole, her journalist friend. "Meeting Victor tomorrow." "You sure about this?" she typed, her thumb trembling. Marcus's reply buzzed instantly, "Absolutely. You're not alone. I'll be there, eyes on you." His certainty anchored her, but doubt gnawed at the edges. Victor wasn't just manipulative, he was cunning, a real estate mogul who'd built a fortune outsmarting rivals. Could she really outplay him? Claire chose a Cambridge cafe, the Brew Haven, for the meeting, a bustling spot with exposed brick walls and the hum of espresso machines. Its crowded patio offered safety, and Marcus could blend in, his camera hidden. She spent the morning rehearsing, pacing her apartment, muttering lines to sound convincing without gagging. "I'm considering your offer," she practiced, wincing at the words. Her reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror showed dark circles under her eyes, sleepless nights catching up. But backing down wasn't an option. Victor's smug face, his casual "no one has to know," burned in her mind. At noon, Claire arrived at the cafe, her phone tucked in her jacket pocket, recorder app primed. She wore a plain gray sweater and jeans, blending into the hipster crowd sipping lattes. Marcus was already there, nursing a coffee at a corner table, his baseball cap low. He gave her a subtle nod, and she exhaled, steadying herself. Victor strode in minutes later, his tailored coat and polished shoes screaming wealth. His eyes locked on Claire, that infuriating smirk spreading as he approached. "Good to see you, Claire," he said, settling into a wicker chair. His tone was warm, but his gaze dissected her, searching for weakness. "Thanks for coming," Claire said, forcing a nervous smile. Her fingers brushed the phone, starting the recording. "I've been thinking about what you said. The money." Victor's smirk widened, but he leaned back, playing coy. "Smart move," he replied, folding his hands. "I knew you'd see the opportunity. It's a win-win." Claire's stomach twisted, but she nodded, keeping him talking. $250,000 is a lot, she said, her voice soft. "What exactly do you want from me?" Victor glanced around, ensuring no eavesdroppers, then leaned closer. "Don't play innocent," he said, his voice low. "One night, no complications. You clear your debts, and I get a private thank you." His words dripped with arrogance, and Claire's nails dug into her palms. She wanted to scream, but she stayed calm, tilting her head like she was torn. "And no one finds out?" she asked, barely above a whisper. Victor's eyes gleamed. "My specialty," he said. "Your mom stays happy, oblivious. Our secret." Claire's pulse spiked, the recorder was catching it all. But she needed more, something undeniable. "What if I say no?" she pressed, her tone wavering. Victor's smile tightened, a flicker of menace in his eyes. "You'd be throwing away a lot," he said, his voice edged. "I'm offering you a way out, Claire. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The threat hung heavy, and Claire's breath caught. Had she pushed too far? A crash broke the tension. A barista dropped a tray, plates clattering. Victor glanced over, annoyed, and Claire seized the chance to pivot. "I need time," she said, standing abruptly. "I'll call you." Victor raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Don't wait too long," he warned, his tone sharp. Claire walked away, her legs shaky but her heart racing with triumph. She'd gotten him on tape, but was it enough? Outside, Marcus joined her, slinging his camera bag over his shoulder. "You okay?" he asked, his brow creased. Claire nodded, patting her phone. "I got it," she whispered. They slipped into his car, and she played the recording. Victor's voice filled the space, smug and incriminating. Marcus grinned. "Solid start. But he's slippery, we need to be careful." Claire agreed, but a new fear crept in. What if Victor suspected her? Worse, what if he was already spinning lies to Evelyn? That night, a text from an unknown number lit up her phone. "Choose wisely, Claire." Her blood ran cold. Was Victor watching her? She called Marcus, her voice trembling. "He's trying to scare me," she said. Marcus's tone was firm. "He's bluffing. We're ahead." But the text shifted the stakes. Victor wasn't just a creep, he was dangerous, and Claire needed a bolder plan to bring him down before he turned her mother against her. Claire Bennett's apartment felt like a cage, the walls closing in as she stared at the anonymous text, "Choose wisely, Claire." Her phone glowed in the dim light, Victor Marshall's shadow looming through those words. At 29, Claire had battled deadlines and debt, but this was different, a psychological chess game against her stepfather, a man who'd offered $250,000 to buy her dignity. The memory of his smug voice in the Cambridge cafe, caught on her recorder, fueled her resolve, but the text hinted he wasn't as careless as she'd hoped. She paced the creaky floorboards, her Alston studio cluttered with sketchpads and empty coffee cups. Evelyn, her mother, trusted Victor blindly, a bond forged in years of grief over Claire's brother, Ethan, lost at 15. Claire's recordings, Victor's oily offer of one night, no complications, were strong, but would they pierce Evelyn's denial? If Victor was already planting doubts, Claire could lose her mother forever. The thought tightened her chest, a mix of fear and betrayal she couldn't shake. Marcus Cole, her journalist friend, arrived with a takeout bag from a nearby deli, his presence a lifeline. "He's trying to rattle you," Marcus said, unpacking sandwiches on her wobbly table. His steady gaze cut through her panic. "We need him to slip again, somewhere he feels untouchable." Claire nodded, her mind churning. Victor's abrupt exit at the cafe, triggered by a phone call, suggested he was wary. She needed a setting where his guard would drop. "What about the Liberty Hotel?" she suggested, picturing its sleek lounge. "He brags about closing deals there. It's his turf." Marcus agreed, sketching a plan. The Liberty's dim booths and upscale crowd would lull Victor into confidence, while Marcus could pose as a patron, his camera discreet. Claire texted Victor, her fingers trembling, "I'm reconsidering. Liberty Hotel, Friday, 7 p.m. Can we talk?" His reply came fast, "Wise choice. I'll reserve a spot." His eagerness made her skin crawl, but it meant he'd taken the bait. She spent Thursday restless, sketching logos to distract herself, but Victor's veiled threat echoed. Was he tracking her? The idea felt paranoid, but she double-checked her locks. Friday evening, Claire dressed carefully, a black sweater and slacks, professional but unassuming. Her phone, fully charged, sat in her purse, recorder ready. The Liberty Hotel buzzed with Boston's elite, its lobby a blend of marble and moody lighting. Marcus was already there, sipping a soda at a corner table, his cap low. Claire's heart raced as she stepped into the lounge, the clink of glasses and murmur of voices amplifying her nerves. Victor waited in a plush booth, his whiskey glinting under the chandelier. "Claire," he said, his smile sharp. "Glad you're coming around." She slid into the booth, forcing a hesitant nod. "I've been thinking," she said, her voice soft as she started the recorder. "That $250,000, you really meant it?" Victor leaned back, swirling his drink. "I don't waste words," he said. "You know the deal. One night, your debts vanish. Simple." Claire's stomach churned, but she pressed on. "And Mom? You're fine betraying her?" Victor's eyes flickered, but his smirk held. "Evelyn's content. She doesn't need to know what doesn't hurt her." The recorder caught every syllable, but Claire pushed for more. "So, it's just a transaction?" she asked, feigning uncertainty. Victor nodded, leaning closer. "Exactly. You're struggling, Claire. I'm offering freedom, no loans, no stress. Takes one evening." His casual tone sickened her, but it was gold for the tape. Then, his phone buzzed. Victor glanced at it, his face tightening. "1 second," he muttered, stepping away to answer. Claire's pulse spiked. Was he onto her? She glanced at Marcus, who gave a reassuring nod. Victor returned, his demeanor colder. "Something's come up," he said, tossing bills on the table. "We'll finish this soon." He left abruptly, leaving Claire shaken. Had she tipped him off? In Marcus's car, they replayed the tape, Victor's words clearer, more damning. "This is big," Marcus said, grinning. "But he's spooked. We need to move fast." Claire's relief was short-lived. A call from Evelyn confirmed her fears. "Victor says you're acting strange," Evelyn said, her voice sharp. "What's going on?" Claire's heart sank. Victor was poisoning Evelyn against her, just as she'd feared. The recordings were her weapon, but would they sway her mother before Victor's lies took root? She needed a final strike, something to expose him where he couldn't escape. As she lay awake, the Liberty chandeliers still flashing in her mind, Claire knew the next move had to be flawless, or she'd lose everything. Claire Bennett's hands trembled as she clutched her phone, her mother's voice still echoing. "Victor says you're acting strange, making things up." Evelyn's words sliced through her, proof that Victor Marshall was already weaving a web of lies. At 29, Claire had endured financial strain and the lingering pain of her brother Ethan's death, but this betrayal felt like a fresh wound. Victor's $250,000 offer, a sick bid to buy her, had pushed her to the edge, and now he was poisoning the one relationship she still hoped to salvage. Her Alston apartment, with its flickering lamp and stacks of unpaid bills, felt suffocating as she paced. The recordings from the Cambridge Cafe and Liberty Hotel were her lifeline. Victor's voice, smug and predatory, offering one night to erase her debts. They were damning, but Evelyn's loyalty to Victor, built on years of charm and shared grief, was a fortress. Claire's fear wasn't just losing her mother, it was failing to free her from a manipulator. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to whisper Victor's threat, choose wisely. Was he watching her, waiting to strike? Marcus Cole, her journalist friend, sprawled on her thrift store couch, his laptop open to notes. He's playing dirty, Marcus said, his voice steady but urgent. Victor's framing you as unstable to discredit you before you show Evelyn the tapes. Claire's stomach knotted. She pictured Victor's smirk, his tailored suits masking a calculating mind. We need to end this, she said, her voice tight. Somewhere public, where Mom can hear him herself. Marcus nodded, rubbing his chin. What about the Seaport Grill? They go there all the time. If Evelyn's nearby, she can't ignore the truth. The idea sparked hope but also dread. Confronting Victor in his comfort zone was risky, but it could force Evelyn's eyes open. Claire texted Victor, her fingers shaking, I'm ready to discuss terms. Seaport Grill, tomorrow, 6 p.m. His reply was instant, good call. Let's keep it quiet. The word quiet chilled her, Victor's control slipping into every syllable. She called Evelyn next, keeping her tone light. Mom, dinner tomorrow? Seaport Grill, my treat. Evelyn hesitated, her voice wary, but agreed. Claire exhaled, her plan a tightrope over a chasm. The next evening, the Seaport Grill glowed against Boston's waterfront, its string lights dancing on the harbor. Inside, the air smelled of grilled steak and ambition, the crowd a mix of suits and socialites. Claire arrived early, her phone in her purse, recorder primed. Marcus took a corner booth, his camera angled discreetly. Evelyn was due in 30 minutes, giving Claire a narrow window to bait Victor. Her black dress felt like armor, but her heart pounded as she scanned the room, half expecting Victor to sense her trap. Victor entered, his blazer crisp, his grin ablade. Claire, he said, sliding into the booth, you're finally seeing sense. His fingers tapped the table, a nervous tick she hadn't noticed before. I'm just listening, she said, starting the recorder. That $250,000, you're serious? Victor leaned back, his eyes glinting. Dead serious. One night, your loans disappear. You know what I want. Claire's nails dug into her palms, but she kept her voice steady. And Mom? You'd betray her like that? Victor's smile tightened. Evelyn's fine where she is. This is between us. The recorder caught every word, but Claire pushed further. So, it's just business? No guilt? Victor shrugged, sipping his wine. Guilt's for suckers. You're drowning, Claire. I'm your lifeline. His arrogance was a gift, she had him. But then, a shadow loomed. Roger, Victor's burly business partner, stood nearby, his eyes locked on them. All good here? Roger asked, his tone heavy. Victor's jaw clenched. Just talking, Roger. Give us space. Roger lingered, then retreated to the bar, but Claire's pulse raced. Was he back up? A threat? She scrambled to recover. You didn't tell anyone, right? She asked, feigning panic. Victor relaxed, his smirk returning. I'm discreet, he said. But don't test me, you're not the only one with options. The warning landed hard, and Claire's recorder drank it in. She glanced at her watch. Evelyn was close. Then, Evelyn appeared at the entrance, her coat clutched tight, her face clouded. Claire's heart leapt, but Roger's presence at the bar was a red flag. If Victor suspected anything, he could bolt, or worse, turn this against her. She had to keep him talking, let him bury himself, and pray Evelyn would hear before Roger or Victor derailed everything. The stakes were sky-high, and Claire's hands trembled as she braced for the storm. Claire Bennett's heart thundered as her mother, Evelyn, stepped into the Seaport Grill, her eyes darting through the restaurant's warm glow. Victor Marshall sat across from Claire, his smug grin faltering as she pressed him about his $250,000 offer, a vile bargain that had haunted her for days. At 29, Claire had faced rejection and loss, but this moment felt like a crucible. Victor's lies had nearly torn her from Evelyn, and now, with her phone recording in her purse, she was one move from exposing him or losing everything. The grill buzzed with clinking glasses and murmured deals, its waterfront view shimmering beyond the windows. Claire's black dress clung to her, a thin shield against the storm in her chest. Marcus Cole, her journalist friend, watched from a corner booth, his camera hidden but rolling. Evelyn was steps away, unaware of the trap Claire had set. Roger, Victor's shady partner, loomed at the bar, his presence a ticking bomb. Claire had to keep Victor talking, make him dig his own grave, before Roger or doubt derailed her. "You're sure about this $250,000? Claire asked, her voice low, recorder catching every word. Victor leaned in, his whiskey breath sharp. "Stop stalling," he snapped. "One night, your debts are gone. You know what I'm asking." His arrogance fueled her, but Evelyn's approach tightened the screws. Claire glanced at Marcus, who nodded subtly, urging her on. "And Mom," she pressed, her tone wavering. "You'd hurt her like this?" Victor's eyes darkened. Evelyn's clueless. "Keeps things tidy. Take the deal, Claire, or regret it." Before he could elaborate, Evelyn reached the table, her coat slipping off her shoulder. "Claire?" "Victor," she said, her voice brittle with confusion. Victor's face froze, his charm cracking. Claire stood, her heart pounding. "Mom, sit down," she said, her tone firm but pleading. Victor shot up, his chair scraping. "Evelyn, she's spinning lies, don't fall for it," he barked, his voice betraying panic. Claire pulled out her phone, her hands steady despite the adrenaline. "I'm not lying," she said, tapping play. Victor's voice boomed, "One night. Evelyn doesn't need to know." The restaurant's hum faded as Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Victor's face paled. "That's fake," he stammered, but his trembling hands betrayed him. Roger started toward them, but Marcus signaled a waiter, who accidentally bumped him, spilling a drink. Evelyn's gaze locked on Victor, betrayal replacing confusion. "You said this to my daughter," she whispered, her voice cracking. Claire seized the moment, her voice rising. "I recorded him twice, Mom, Cafe, Liberty Hotel. He meant it all." Claire played the second tape, Victor's words piling up like bricks. Evelyn's face crumpled, years of trust collapsing. "How could you?" she choked, glaring at Victor. He scrambled, his voice shrill. "She set me up, Evelyn. She's jealous, twisting everything." But Claire held her ground, tears burning her eyes. "I'm not the liar," she said, turning to Evelyn. "I needed you to see him, Mom. Please." Evelyn's hand trembled, reaching for Claire's. "Is this real?" she asked, barely audible. Claire nodded, her throat tight. "I tried to tell you. I couldn't let him win." Evelyn's eyes searched hers, and for the first time since Ethan's death, Claire felt truly seen. "I'm sorry," Evelyn whispered, tears streaming. "I should have believed you." Victor lunged for the phone, but Marcus stepped in, his voice calm. "Sit down, Victor. It's done." Roger froze, pinned by curious stares from the crowd. Victor's bravado shattered, his shoulders slumping. "You'll pay for this," he muttered, but it was empty. Evelyn straightened, her voice icy. "No, Victor. You will." She grabbed Claire's arm. "Let's go." They left Victor stammering, the restaurant's eyes on him. Days later, Evelyn filed for divorce, severing Victor from her life. Claire shared the recordings with a lawyer, who pursued legal action for his predatory behavior. No fists, just justice. Victor's reputation unraveled, his deals collapsing under scrutiny. Claire and Evelyn began therapy, rebuilding their bond brick by brick. The pain of Ethan's loss surfaced, but so did hope. Marcus stayed by Claire's side, their friendship blooming into love. By 31, they were engaged, her freelance career thriving as debts faded. Victor's name became a footnote, tainted by truth. Claire stood taller, her voice reclaimed, knowing she'd fought not with anger, but with courage, proof, and a mother's love rediscovered.